Hello! Yeah, it's me, Mr. Red Fox, and as the title placard says, this is just my Fallout 4 first impressions. Before I get further into this, I just want to let you know, I'll only be talking about the first 8 hours of the game, so the very beginning. I'm not going to get into any farther than that. I'm just going to tell you what I first felt about the game, how I feel about the story, on its initial impressions, how the music, the gameplay, all that fun stuff. And I'll also give you a hint on how I'll be reviewing it once I put up a full review in about a month, give or take. Definitely before Christmas. So without further ado, let's get into it. After the cut. Okay, so basically how I am playing this game in order to review it. I have two saves. One is kind of like the way Fallout is meant to be played, so no cheats, relatively, stats, going around fighting. I'm playing on the second highest difficulty, not the survivor mode where you have to eat and drink and sleep, but the difficulty below that. So I'm getting my ass kicked sometimes, and sometimes I'm kicking ass, sometimes I'm getting my ass kicked. I've played a lot of Fallout games, so this isn't really that difficult for me. I also have a second save where, in order to experience everything, I've created an almighty character, i.e. maxed out special stats with God mode on. This way, instead of saying, I'm able to see the best case scenario with my character interactions and my skills and stuff like that. Okay then, so just letting you know. This will be my impressions from both sides of that equation. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now. Okay then, so let's get into it. Basically, the opening of the game is that your character is a veteran from from the U.S. military in the Fallout universe. So that kind of is an important thing to keep in mind in this game. Whether you're male or female, whether you choose to be male or female. Basically, you're a new father. You have a newborn. On the eve of the war's about to go down, you basically go to a vault. I think it's 114 or 111, something like that. And your character is cryogenically frozen for 200 years. While you're cryogenically frozen, your character wakes up and discovers that his son is kidnapped. His or her son, depending on which character you choose, male or female. Your son is kidnapped. And your spouse is killed in front of you because of the way the cryogenic chambers are set up. There's like your wife or your husband is across from you holding the baby, depending on which gender you choose, and so you see them murdered. A short time later, your character manages to get out of your cryogenic stasis, and you're trying to find your son. That's the general story for the beginning of the game. It's a little weak, in my opinion. Once again, Bethesda has crafted a story that the main story of the game is ass. The side stories are really interesting. The world that they craft is very interesting. The main story is shit though. And it kind of makes no sense, but I'll get further into that during the full review. Graphically, the game looks like a prettier version of Skyrim, but Skyrim was a very ugly game, so that's not really saying much. Which is surprising because they're using the same engine as they did for Skyrim, although it's been, they've gotten better at utilizing that engine, so that's good, which leads to the bugs. The bugs in this game aren't quite as bad as Skyrim. There is a game-breaking bug if you go to a certain part of the map, to a certain location on the map, but they're gonna apparently release a patch to fix that sometime next week. Here's hoping that it works. Let's see. The music is, most of it The atmospheric music is okay. It's done by Inanzur, the guy who did the music for Dragon Age 1 in Dragon Age, or Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2. The atmospheric music is okay. The stations are pretty good. The classical music station and the old school, like Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby type station with the oldies is pretty good too. Although it doesn't have Frank Sinatra in the oldies, as far as I've listened to it, but it's still pretty good. Let's see, what else? Graphically, the game kind of has this weird thing where you'll be like, sometimes you'll walk into an area and it'll look really good, but then you'll turn a corner and it'll drop down into low res textures as it's loading the area, which is kind of weird. I'm running this game on very high settings and I'm still seeing areas where that'll happen, which is kind of like off-putting. But still, overall, the game runs pretty stable compared to other Bethesda games over the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. This game runs very smoothly for a Bethesda game. It's still got some bugs and shit in it. That being said, I'll give you my overall thoughts just for, a first impression after the cut. Okay, here's my final thoughts and a little bit on the gameplay. They've overhauled the gameplay system in this game. Fallout was always kind of like an RPG with combat elements, and now it's like with first-person shooter elements. That's how it was with Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. Now it's completely become more of a first-person shooter with some RPG elements. So it's more like Borderlands crossed with Fallout, less Fallout crossed with Borderlands, which is a good and bad thing. If you're an old school Fallout fan, you might find this offensive. If you actually like Borderlands, this game is basically what Destiny promised to be but wasn't. This game is essentially what Borderlands kind of missed. Item crafting. You can actually be stealthy and shoot a guy and they can't find you. It's actually done pretty well. The combat system, I can understand why hardcore Fallout fans such as myself might be offended by it, but if you don't go into it thinking this is a Fallout game, it's a first-person shooter with Fallout elements, that feels more like what it is. I've been having a lot of fun with it. Would I call it one of the greatest Fallout games ever? No. I'll just tell you right now, Fallout New Vegas had a better story. Even though how it was implemented wasn't that good, but Fallout New Vegas had a better story. So with that being said, these are just my first impressions. Leave your comments, questions, concerns in the comment section, and I'll get back to you if it's something pertinent to the subject matter. This Sunday at 4:30, I'll be doing a podcast with John Lucas, hopefully in duo, and others. We'll be talking about East versus West, Japanese developers versus the world. We'll talk about notable Eastern developers, notable Western developers, and why does there seem to be this conflict between the two development philosophies. So with that being said, good day.